I could tell by when I responded that the blood that was on the ground, that the individual was not going to make it.
I woke up, 50, 100 feet from my Jeep. We all got ejected from the vehicle.
She didn't call. I don't know why she didn't call.
Not a day goes by I wouldn't trade places with Emily. It's not an easy thing to live with.
I think the general theme with a lot of these accidents is they wish they could have just back that 2 minutes to have changed it all.
2 minutes to change it all. To change what happened in a split second, which changed lives forever. Hello, I am Hampden District Attorney Anthony-gulluni. We have all seen the accidents on the news, stories and images that have become commonplace because we hear it so frequently. Operating while under the influence of alcohol. The accident scenes are horrific. The lives of these people are real and the stories are true. We hope to bring a different perspective and sense of awareness to you when you get in a car. These are the stories of two events that changed people's lives forever.
Before this had happened, I had lost, a couple friends to car crashes. In high school, I had lost, one of my real good friends I grew up with, the house behind me. And I kind of made it a point to tell myself that I would never, be that guy.
I always ask, where are you going? Who are you going with? What are you doing? And, going over with friends. We're not really doing anything. I don't think it was, I don't know how planned out it really was, but didn't know what he was doing quite yet.
We were talking throughout the day to see, what we want to do for my buddy's birthday. And we decided we just want to meet up at, the local watering hole, or whatever you want to call it, local bar. We grabbed a couple beers there, we shot some pool, and then everybody decided they wanted to go up to Springfield, to the better bars, I guess you'd call them. And so we took off. We went in two Jeep Wranglers, actually, and we each had 3 passengers, so there's 4 people in each Jeep. And then we met up at the first bar up there.
They got out, they drove up to Massachusetts in order to basically go downtown Springfield. At one point during the night, one of the 2 Jeeps that people came up in left.
So when it came time to leave, I didn't really even think twice. I said, all right guys, just pack it in.
There was 3 individuals up front, including Nate driving. There was people sitting on the wheel wells in the back. They weren't belted because there's basically nowhere else to sit. They were sitting anywhere they could. And Nate, in his mind, was, what do I do? Do I leave my friends, or do I try to get them home?
We came up to a stoplight, it was red, and there was a yellow taxi cab in front of us. So when the light went to turn green, he was going to take a left-hand turn, and I was going to go straight toward the on-ramp.
As he went up, he beeped his horn. He went around the taxi, and as he went out, he hit the front bumper.
In the haste of things, I went to go pull over, and I made the decision in the end, so it's completely on me. Someone said, don't stop, go, and I didn't even think about it, I just, I hit the gas and went.
He went up on the highway, the taxi went up after him, trying to get his plate, trying to find out who it was, because otherwise the taxi guy has to pay for the damages.
He's blinking his lights, beeping his horn, trying to get me to pull over. I was going 73 and a 55 right near the Basketball Hall of Fame. I was going around cars, I was switching lanes, and I lost control in the right-hand lane. And we careened all the way across and hit, the median, the guardrail. The people that were behind, they witnessed it.
They remarked, wow, look at all the luggage flying out.
It wasn't luggage, it was me and 6 of my friends,
And I remember hearing on the radio initially that there was an accident with multiple injuries. And the road actually had to be closed down in several lanes.
I woke up, 50, 100 feet from my Jeep. My Jeep was in the middle of the road and it was a crumpled can. My friends were on the road around me. We all got ejected from the vehicle.
Some had road rash, other ones had major injuries, broken bones, in various parts of their bodies.
When I looked back out on the highway, there were still 2 individuals out there. One was trying to get the other up, and the person laying on the ground was bleeding badly from the back of their head. I rushed back out onto the highway, and when I got out there, like I said, he was bleeding badly from the back of his head. He wasn't moving, he wasn't breathing, and when I checked his pulse, he wasn't alive.
The decisions you make while behind the wheel can be the difference between life and death in your car. Nate's distractions in his car with the added effects of drinking led to a tragic outcome which he, his friends, and their families will deal with for the rest of their lives. Distracted driving can take many forms. It can include using alcohol, marijuana, or other drugs while you drive. It could include using your phone for calling or texting. Eating or even talking with friends can be a deadly distraction. Most of you are new drivers or will soon be getting your licenses. You are beginning to understand the privilege that it is to have a license, but you are also beginning to understand the responsibility that comes with it, including to your own safety, the safety of others in your car, and the safety of other people on the road.
She turned 18 on the 8th of February, and for her birthday she wanted to go skiing. She wanted a ski weekend.
I went to college in Vermont, so I had friends that we used to go up to Vermont and stay with, and we'd go up to Sugar Bush and ski.
When she came home, she went to her dad's, and then came down to my house. When I got home from work, she was there. And she was getting cleaned up, and I said, "What's going on?" She says, "Oh, we're gonna go out." Her friend Ashlyn also turned 18, and she said, "We're gonna go to this place called Max Cap in Chicopee." She said they have a place where it's half under 21 and the other side is over 21.
So we had plans to go to that. It was me and my friend Randy, her and her friend Ashlyn. So after work, I had come home, got ready, headed out to Western Mass.
So she got cleaned up, ready to go and everything, and when she left, I gave her a kiss and told her I loved her.
The upstairs of the bar is 18 and up, and the lower part is 21 and up. So me and Randy had gone downstairs. We had 2 drinks in the bar that night.
Emily and her friend were not 21. They were in the upstairs bar. They were out for dancing and having a good time. Jay and his friend were 21, so they were able to go downstairs to drink and go back to his girlfriend and enjoy the night.
We left somewhere around midnight, I think, to go home. Ashlyn had to get home, so we had left the club. The roads were kind of nasty. Same thing. We got lost again. We got into kind of an argument about the directions and the conditions of the road.
No one was helping him. He was getting upset that no one was helping him try to find his way back from Chicopee back out to the Westfield area. And he got lost. He got very upset. They got in a fight. Emily was upset. She got out of the car when he was stopping based on his driving. She walked away. He convinced her to go back into the car.
She knew I would come get her in a second. I've gone and got Jay before. He was, from UMass. I don't know why she didn't call.
Just a little while later on Bates Road, it's got some pretty good turns outside of, coming out of Westfield on Bates Road, and I had slid off the road on ice after cresting a rise.
I don't live very far, and it was such a horrific accident that I remember being outside and hearing the crash and wondering, what the heck was that? And then, next thing you know, police department cruisers are responding on there. I hopped in my unmarked cruiser and I headed down that way too.
And then drove too fast and went off the road, hit a tree stump.
Emily's side of the car, the passenger side of my car, took the impact on a tree stump that was just off the shoulder of the road.
As it hit the tree stump, the vehicle rolled over and caught on fire.
I woke up to my friend Randy in the back seat of the car. He was screaming. He was hurt. When I stood up outside the car, I couldn't see Emily. I shouted for her. I called her, Emily, and I ran around the vehicle. I didn't know if she'd gotten, thrown out of the vehicle. The whole car was pretty much covered in flames. I went back into the car. I couldn't see anything. It was filled with smoke, and there's no lights on the road, and I felt around, and I remember I felt her skin, and I tried to, you know, brace her head and pull her out of the vehicle, away from the fire.
The scene itself was just horrific.
The police had come, and they had pulled me away from Emily.
I remember the kids just more or less in denial of what happened. No one really wanted to say what was going on. The kids were hurt, and they were hurt bad.
Randy, I could hear Randy, my friend Randy, screaming again. So I turned away from the cop and I went to my friend Randy. He was laying on the ground with his right leg folded underneath him at his mid-thigh. He broke his femur. You know, I told him, you know, it's gonna be all right. You know, you're gonna be all right. You're out of the car, but Emily's not breathing. I have to go to Emily. I turned around, and that's basically when I was put in handcuffs.
I heard somebody knock at the door. So I went to the door, and I could see it was the state trooper at the door. And I knew as soon as I saw him, I knew something happened to Emily. And I opened the door and looked at him, and I said, "It's Emily, isn't it?" And he just shook his head, "Yeah." And I said, "She didn't make it, did she?" And he's like, "I'm sorry."
Jay's story is all too common. He didn't want to hurt anyone, but because of the distractions of arguing, being unfamiliar with the road, weather conditions, and driving while under the influence of alcohol, it all led to the death of the love of his life. The consequences are real and can include loss of license, fines, probation, and incarceration. But legal and financial consequences are just the beginning. They can include death or serious injury to yourself, to your passengers, or to innocent people on the road. It's important that you understand these consequences every time you get behind the wheel, because it's only a split-second decision that can mean lasting consequences: jail, injury, and loss of life. Here in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, it is a felony if your drinking and driving results in someone's death. That will result in at least 1 year of jail and up to 15 years in state prison. So in this case, you are going to jail. The question is only how long.
The list of charges, they added up, toward me it was something like 57 years in prison.
My original charges were motor vehicle homicide by OUI, serious bodily injury, OUI negligent operation, and manslaughter.
In my mind, I'm like, this individual killed someone. He was drinking, he was reckless, and he killed someone, and I wanted him to be held accountable.
My lawyer said, you know, here's your options. You know, you go to trial, or, you know, they have this plea deal.
Sometimes the clients say, I want to take ownership, I want to do this, and they, like Nate did, he did not want to put the family through anything more, and he decided, same with Jay Franklin, they wanted to own up to their responsibility and admit their wrongdoings and take whatever punishment the court was going to give them.
I plead 4 to 6 years on motor vehicle homicide, and that was an unagreed plea that I went on that day.
And the plea deal for me was they would drop manslaughter, which carries 5 to 20 years in state prison, if I pled out to DUI, vehicular homicide, and serious bodily injury.
I went in front of the judge. He took a recess to read my letters of recommendation. I think it was somewhere around an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. And, you know, I spent that time basically saying goodbye to my family, you know, who was there.
Jail will not be your only problem. You will also deal with significant legal expenses and no license or job with which you can support yourself. The consequences to you and others around you are disastrous. After incarceration, your problems will only continue. Colleges and employers have the ability to do something called a Corey check. If you are convicted, your criminal history will remain with you for a very long time. Think before you drink. And if you're in the situation where someone has been drinking, take the keys away. Call a parent, call a friend, call a cab. The consequences of drinking and driving are severe.
It's not really worth it. You know, if you want to drink, stay home and drink. Or if you want to go out to the bar, go out to the bar, but call a taxi or an Uber. I mean, an Uber, say you got to go 100 miles in an Uber, it's going to be a couple $100. You know, my lawyer alone was $25,000 up front. You know, $200 is a little more affordable than that.
Don't be embarrassed, as I like to say. And I like to say, don't be afraid to say, I'm not going to get in that car. Don't be under such peer pressure to say that, you know what, my friend has been drinking a lot, but we're only going down the street. We're only going 2 blocks. We're only going to the other side of town, because that will be the one instance where things will happen.
Everyone thinks they're okay to drive. But a simple phone call. If you're underage, the parents would rather get the phone call from you, and you may get punished. But to the parents, what was the alternative? They could have driven home. They may have made it safely. But what happens if they didn't? They did the right thing by calling.
Why she didn't call me, I've told her 1,000,000 times. Don't ever hesitate, no matter what, day or night, you need a ride home, call me. And I'll come get you, no questions asked, just get you home. If you don't feel safe, just call. And she didn't call. I don't know why.
I may be free in body, but my mind is locked up forever. You know, I will never forget this. It'll always be on my mind. It'll always be going through my mind. That'll never change, you know.
Because I don't know how any normal human being, how you can live with yourself after you've killed somebody just because you drank too much. I believe your own conscience will take care of that.
You know, not a day goes by I wouldn't trade places with Emily or redo everything that night. I always wish I could take that back. I'll always have to live with that. It's not an easy thing to live with.
I hope you are now better informed about distracted driving and driving under the influence and their consequences. The problems it can cause you are legal, personal, and permanent. Please be safe on the roads and keep in mind how important your decisions are before and while you drive. Commit yourself to good decisions on the road. You owe it to your families, your friends, and your future. Thank you.